2024 election is less than a year away now, but the season already heating up. We're joined now live by Jim Defede from WFOR in Miami with some more perspective. Jim, good to see you.
Good to see you, Rutabaga.
So the Republican debate is tonight in your backyard in Miami. Former President Trump, again, is going to be absent, though. He did make headlines, of course, for his fraud trial in New York, taking the stand this week. And the headlines were mostly about the way he acted, the things he said, not so much about the fraud he was found liable for. Do you think that helped him politically, especially since he's not going to be at the debates?
I think he sees the courtroom as an extension of his campaign rallies. And so, you know, and the judge even admonished him, telling him during his testimony that he shouldn't act as if this was one of his speeches or rallies. But he understands, that's the beauty of Donald Trump, he understands that everything that takes place inures so far to his benefit in the national campaign. And so today we're going to see Donald Trump just a few miles from where the Republican National Committee will host their debate. He's going to ignore them once again. He's going to hold a rally. We'll probably get more people attending his rally than will be in attendance at the debate. As a matter of fact, that's a guarantee. And so, you know, he continues to dominate center stage, and that's exactly what he wants. And the polls so far are showing that it works for him.
Let's talk about Ron DeSantis of Florida. A year ago, he was seen as the clear front runner, a rising star in the Republican Party. And now he's, instead of debating Donald Trump, he's going to debate our governor, Gavin Newsom, on Fox News later this month. What happened to his campaign?
This is a stunning story. I followed Ron DeSantis from the time that he was a member of Congress running for governor. And a year ago right now, he won by almost 20 points and was seen as the heir apparent, the man who could take down Donald Trump. And a year later, all we're talking about is whether or not he has lifts in his boots, and the fact that he can't have, you know, that he's slipping further and further in the polls. He's falling behind Nikki Haley in Iowa and New Hampshire, and he's got a real problem. And so, yes, the debate with Gavin Newsom, he needs to sort of flex and show some sort of muscle that he's able to do well on the national stage, even though he's done poorly outside of Florida. And the Gavin Newsom debate is one where he's going to try to show that he can take on the best that the Democrats have. And Newsom is an able debater. I'm worried for Governor DeSantis, because I don't think he handles, and knowing him and knowing from interviewing him numerous times, he doesn't like to be challenged. He doesn't like to be questioned. And even though the debate is going to be on Fox News, Gavin Newsom has shown a propensity to bring heat, and it's going to be very interesting to see. But it also shows that Ron DeSantis is on the B team right now. He's not even debating the real players in the race. He's debating, you know, Gavin Newsom in California.
Well, it'll be interesting. A lot of people will be tuning in for that, no doubt. Quickly, before I let you go, yesterday was Election Day. California, Florida, not front and center there, but there are some results we should all be looking ahead to as maybe a bellwether nationally.
Oh, absolutely. The abortion issue played dominantly. Obviously, Ohio passed an abortion, you know, support for abortion on their ballot. The debate in who controlled the Virginia House, both the House and the Senate in Virginia, that was all about debate. That was all about abortion. And so, yeah, you clearly saw that abortion is playing well for Democrats. You know, here in Florida, Governor DeSantis passed a 6-week abortion ban that is scheduled to take effect later this year. There's going to be a push next year to put that on a statewide ballot, and we're going to see what that plays out. So abortion is the driving force for Democrats right now, and Republicans just don't have an answer for it.
All right, Jim Defede, we appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Anytime, Rutabaga.